But just looking at what they were able to do tonight and Zion in general, Coach Bud just said he's a force, but how difficult of a player is he to try to defend?
Really tough. But you still want to take away, what you see him do every night. Even though it's a tough assignment, he has a jump pad further away from the rim than you think, but, try to keep him going to his right hand and, bring the help in early. Things that we talked about before the game that we didn't execute.
Devin, is that part of the frustration with not just tonight, but having the game plan, knowing what needs to be done, and then not executing at the level you guys are capable of?
Yeah, and that's been the story of the season thus far. It could be fixed with just a little bit more talking, I'll say. Things get tough. We get quiet as a team, and from my experience and what I've seen, that's not the way to get through it.
The other thing I had was seeing Tyus come back after being, come off the bench. Now he started tonight for Brad. What you see in him that was so productive tonight?
He was making shots and controlling the tempo. Tyus is a great player. I think we've been putting him in tough situations as the past couple months. So if we had some type of flow out there and, we're getting stops and playing in transition and letting him set the table, I think that's when he's at his best.
Book, you mentioned the execution and the communication there. I know injury's been part of this season as well, but if you had to describe, what it's taken to get you guys to this point in the season, how would you kind of go about doing that?
What's the question?
Like, when you look at the season as a whole, how would you describe what it's taken to get you guys to this point where you're, 4 or 5 games below 500?
Yeah, I'd say, just, skipping over the details and, always taking the, get them next game mentality. At some point you got to draw a line, and should have been drawn a long time ago.
To your point about drawing that line and improving the communication and your experience with a lot of different types of teammates, what does it take to kind of build that environment, I guess?
Everybody has to be on the same page. You can starts with the leaders of the team, obviously me, Brad, and Kay, and Coach, but from my history, there's 15, 20 guys on the sideline that know the game plan, that know what's going on, and in the huddles, just constant communication.
Sorry, Book. When it comes to threes, it was you and Kevin combined for 29 three-point attempts. I know this has been a dialogue with you all year in terms of taking threes, but do you feel like that's a good shot balance for you guys, or was that just more of taking what the defense was giving you guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of them were good looks. We got 50 up as a team. I think we need to stick with that. Just clean things up on the defense end and keep that same mentality on the other side, and we'll be all right.
Hearing you talk about communication, it's easy for a fan to hear you say that and say it's just simple as everyone talking. But to Gerald's question, is it a group mentality that leads to communication getting better? How would you describe specifically communication improving on the team?
Yeah, it's ongoing communication. I'd rather two people say the wrong thing to each other out there than nobody talk at all and leave the gray area. So it's like any job or any group project that you do, you have to do it together. Even once you have a game plan, you think everybody knows it. There's nothing wrong with reiterating it and just keep the conversation going throughout the whole game.
Book, on the defensive end, is there anything besides communication that you feel like is different than last year? Because a lot of the rotation's the same. It's a group we've seen compete and defend before, but obviously this year hasn't been there.
Yeah, it's different.
Last one. When you're talking about drawing the line and should have been done a long time ago, is that something that you're sitting here now thinking about yourself and I should have handled things differently, I should have done something?
Yeah, I always look at myself first, but I also talk a lot.
Kev, when you look at Zion, obviously he's a force, tough guy to guard, but what did you feel like he was able to get to tonight?
Well, he got downhill whenever he wanted to. you know. Especially once we switched that screen at the top of the key, felt like he was in the paint easily. That's how great he is, man. He can poses well, triple-double. He's controlled the game tonight.
What do you feel like needs to change for you guys to get this thing back on track?
We got to rebound better. I feel like we got to stop teams from making threes. And stop having these laws on offense where we go 2 or 3 possessions of late in the clock, shoot a tough shot. Now teams getting out in transition and running. We shot the ball well the last 2 games from the 3 especially. We got a lot of them up. But we giving up a lot of points too.
Kevin, Bud was saying it's key to stay optimistic right now. How easy or difficult is it to stay optimistic the last 10 or 12 here?
I don't want to say the wrong thing and people take it out of context. So I'm going to just agree that we just got to be better.
One of the things that we talked about before is there's certain stretches of the game where the game could be won or lost. In that first half, when they get out to a lead like that, is that one of those stretches where you're like...
Yeah, it was a tough one. You know, started the second. First of all, we gave up that tip in at the end of the quarter, which momentum is huge in this game. I'm sure they felt confident going back up 5 instead of a 1-possession game. Then they came out, hit us in the mouth. I think it was a 10-0 run or a 12-0 run. Got up 15. We walked it down, but it just takes a lot of energy to do that. You know what I'm saying? And turn it into a 1-point game in our favor. It's just we worked so hard to get that lead back, you know. So and then the start of the fourth quarter too, they ran a little run as well. So yeah, that's usually the tell of the game, man. When a team make a little spurt here and throughout the game, a little 2-minute spurt that could change the whole game for you.
Bud was saying there needs to be, a level of fight and belief in order to get this thing back on the track. Do you feel that from the guys on the court?
Most definitely. I feel like everybody wants to win. I feel like everybody's pissed off. When you see bad body language, I mean, people care. You know what I'm saying? And guys care in this locker room. I can tell they pissed. We having conversations amongst just ourselves sometimes. Obviously, we had conversations with the coaches and our individual coaches, but when we had that dialogue amongst ourselves, we try to figure out what's the best way for us to move forward. We got suggestions, ideas, and when guys still keep that energy around communicating, that shows that guys still want to figure this thing out. So I'm confident in our group that we'll come out tomorrow with a sense of urgency and be better.
When Book was asked about points of improvement on the floor, he mentioned communication. How would you assess the communication over the last couple of games?
Everything could be better.
Kevin, obviously, there's never one answer as to why a team is playing good or bad. But as far as the answers to fixing what's going on, where would you start at in addressing what needs to be done to start fixing things?
I got to be way better.
In what sense?
Everything.